All right, I'm just going to go back and kind of reintroduce what we're talking about, and we're going to dive into advanced topics. So we'll cover some of those more in-depth conversations about assignments and quizzes and data and things like that. All right, looking at an assignment, let's go back into the assignment space and talk a little bit more about the other options that are there. We talked about the two main ones. I'm going to go back. I think I started building one. Let me see if I have one here I started building. Maybe I didn't. Yep, here's my very ugly assignment that has nothing in it. All right, a couple things to note, just to recap. When you build instructions, whether it's a discussion, an assignment, a quiz, don't forget you have all these tools here. You can integrate media, recordings, audio, video record, Kaltura content, YouTube videos. You can have them watch a video and submit a reflection on the video. I mean, there's so much you can do here. The other thing I really want to point out with assignments is that think about the technology students always have with them. They have their phones. The phone has audio, video capabilities. Instead of having students, I got so tired when I taught 15-year-olds, I taught physics, and they always did posters for vocabulary. All the time, every teacher always does posters for vocabulary. I got so sick of that. I'm like, they're not even learning anything. They're copying definitions. What is that? So instead, they have their phones, and they're very eager to use their phones. I would have them record themselves acting out presentation and laws and demonstrating lab tasks and lab safety. They made funny lab safety videos, and using their phones, they can do that. You don't need fancy technology. Think about that. When you assign an assignment, it could be something where they're demonstrating or acting or responding or explaining something in verbal, video, audio, or text. So you have lots of options for assignments. Don't forget about that. I think of when you get Canvas, I like to think that it's also kind of the goal to have more authentic assessment. Whether you're using quizzes or assignments, how can we, now that we have this platform, leverage the platform to make things more authentic? Where can I actually see tasks versus text responses for everything? When I'm doing a quiz, integrating more media, having really authentic types of assessments is really key in an LMS. That's kind of one of the benefits of it. So just remember that when you have this, there's even this HTML editor. If you have any share codes or codes from other places, for example, I like to do Prezi presentations in my class. I got sick of PowerPoint. So I would do Prezi and have an interactive presentation. Well, things like Prezi, or there's an application called Nearpod that makes your PowerPoints more interactive. You can ask questions in your PowerPoint, have them draw things in the PowerPoint, kind of cool stuff. If you use applications like that, they give you a little embed code. Just like Google, if you're a heavy Google user, you know they get you an embed code if you need it. Well, all you have to do, you don't have to be a coder, you switch to HTML and just paste that code there, and then you bring it to Canvas. Students don't have to go to all those places to find those things. It's now inside of Canvas. So any site you use that you can get an embed code or a share code, just remember you have that ability to put it into Canvas as well. That way you're sending students to one place versus a million places. That was always a really great benefit of an LMS. I want to make sure in the advanced session we at least point that out again. All right, so I can type instructions or I can add a file of instructions, however I want to get them in here. Let's go a little bit more deep into the settings of an assignment. This is where we really didn't dive too deeply before. We talked about points and groups and all of that, so we're going to skip over that. We talked a lot about the submission type. All right, we said you have to at least select one, even if the option's no submission. You can also, if you choose online, select more than one option here, so you can give students choice in how they submit. Media recordings, I'll go a little bit more deep into media recordings. That gives them that little play button. They can record audio or video. It works on their cell phones. If they're using the app, they just click media recording. You can record audio, video right from their phones. Or it also gives them a place to upload saved audio, video files from their computer. That's how my video production students would submit their media recordings. So media recordings is for creating right on the spot or uploading saved audio, video recordings. And then file uploads is how you can get all those annotation tools and fun stuff when you go to grade your assignments in Canvas. So there's lots of options here. You can select more than one. We talked about groups. What we didn't talk about is peer reviews. All right, what is a peer review assignment? It allows you to assign either randomly or manually reviews for students to do. When I click peer reviews, it gives me some options. There's that manual or automatic. Do I want Canvas to randomly generate? Or do I want to go in after I save this assignment and handpick which students review which students? I'm going to pick automatic just in the essence of time. And I want to review maybe, I want to say, let's say every student gets 2 to review. They're going to submit drafts of their research papers, and they're each going to review each other's, 2 of them apiece. You set how many reviews they get, and then you also pick when they're assigned. And that means it'll show up in the student's to-do list as soon as they're assigned a peer review. They will also they'll see it all over the place, actually. Students see it in many places, not even just their to-do list. When they get to the course, they're alerted that they have a peer review. They can't really miss it. When they submit an assignment, if they submitted this, they'd see right after they submit, you have these 2 peer reviews to do. So they're going to be bombarded. They have peer reviews to do. I can set a date and time. Let's just say tomorrow it's going to be assigned to them. The last option, something I find really important, you can have them anonymous. You as a teacher know who they reviewed, but they don't know who they're reviewing of each other. So it's not a very rigorous review system, but you do have that ability if you want to. I have a slide 2 that shows the student, let's see, here. This is what it looks like for a student in their to-do list. They'd see they've been assigned a peer review, and that's what it looks like underneath when they turn in a submission, who they have reviews for. And it would just say anonymous 1, anonymous 2. It'd just say anonymous if you made that anonymous. They wouldn't see actual student names. So it's completely an option if you want it anonymous or not. I tend to make them anonymous. So they are bombarded. They see you. They have a review to do for that assignment in a couple different places. That's what it looks like to them. So going back, if you choose peer review, that's how that's set up. That's what that button's for. You also may see moderated grading. That is really for if you have people like TAs in your courses. It allows you to assign a set of students for that TA or other person to grade, and then you kind of have the final oversight before those grades get released. That's what moderated grading means. It gives you an extra step before the TA randomly just grades and it goes out to students. It gives you a little bit of oversight with what other graders in your class are doing, if you include other graders in your class. There's a really good guide. I would say just remember moderated grading. There's a guide that exhaustively covers exactly what's there in the process of it. Not everyone uses it, so I'm not going to go into that much depth showing it, but search moderated grading. You'll see a guide on how that operates. And then, again, you have that assign box. What I do want to point out as a more advanced consideration, we had someone earlier today who actually asked this to me. What do you do if you don't want to build a full-fledged assignment here? You just want to get something in the grade book. You still have to build an assignment, discussion, or quiz to get something in the grade book, but you don't have to fill out all of this stuff. If you just want a column in the grade book, all you need at a minimum is a title, a point value, and a submission type. And your submission type could be no submission or on paper, either way. They're doing it in class on paper is what I usually say. And that creates, if you don't want them at all to even have the ability to really do anything, it'd be no submission. So either way, you can do no submission or on paper, but that is how you get it in the grade book. Those are the only 3 things you need at a minimum. So if you're just creating a column, that's it. Title, points, submission type. I typically choose on paper, so they know they're still doing something. It's just not in Canvas. Or you could do no submission. It's something you're just assessing yourself, like a checklist of something you're looking at in class or something. Once you do that, you click Save and Publish. Why am I telling you to save and publish? Publish means it's there for students and you are able to grade with it. The other reason I'm saying publish is because as soon as, or save, you could save as well, but as soon as you save an assignment, look what happens. You get this plus rubric button. Everyone always looks for a rubric when they're editing. It's kind of logical, right? I would think the same thing, but you do not see a rubric in Canvas till you save the assignment. All right? So that's key. Saving the assignment is how you then see that plus rubric button. You don't have to add a rubric, but you have that option every time you build an assignment. Discussions also have the rubric capabilities. All right, just about the basic settings and structure questions, because then we're going to dive into advanced Google and Turnitin type assignments. Yes?
Someone asked if you can change the deadline even after the
Yes. So can you change the deadline once you've set it? Yes, you can change things as much as you want in Canvas, even after they've been assigned. Absolutely. Yes?
What does it mean to require a peer review? I mean, functionally, if a student doesn't do it, they still get the points for writing the paper. I'm not sure how that works.
I mean, you can't necessarily penalize unless you take points off of their assignment because they didn't do it.
Do you have an example of what that looks like to the grader?
The grader would just see in the grade book, I don't have a saved because I didn't mass grade as a student for a review, but they would see like on the sidebar, it would show which they've completed or which they haven't in the speed grader on the right-hand side at the top.
So you can voluntarily, you yourself can incorporate that into the rubric.
Yes, you can say you must do the peer review as part of the rubric, absolutely. Yep, that would be a total instructor decision. Yes, yes,
With peer reviewed, with anonymous peer review,
yes.
do you need to tell students not to put their names on their materials that will be reviewed to keep everything anonymous?
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. If you do create anonymous peer reviews, make sure you tell your students not to put their names on those things. Correct. That would be a good best practice.
And then can you do pass-fail grading?
Yes, it'd be complete or incomplete for pass-fail grading. It would give 0 or full points. That's the closest to pass-fail we have.
And when submitting media assignments and the option in Canvas, does that eat up available total storage, hard disk space in Canvas? And does the U of M have a limited Canvas storage?
Yes, it does eat up. So when you submit from your submission space and it's a media recording, when you do have students submit, yes, it's part of your total storage space. However, there is the ability, if you have a heavy media course, to up the limit of a specific course if there's that need. And honestly, I taught video production and still didn't really fill my quota for that. So, and I had students submitting tons of media. It's hard to get the media filled, but there is the ability on a case-by-case, course-by-course basis to up media storage, yes.
We'd recommend Kaltura.
Oh, perfect, yes, perfect. Students can submit even from other places. They don't have to just submit from Canvas. There's other tools. They have access to third-party tools just like you do. So if they're housing, do students have accounts in Kaltura? So yeah, students could host their videos and media and submissions in Kaltura and add it the same way instructors add it. Through the text entry, there's that little icon they can add, and then it can house and store all the data for them. So there's really no need to ever fill your quota inside of Canvas, essentially. Great questions. All right, so before I go to rubric, I'm going to show you those other advanced type of assignments. So that's where the submission type changes. So I'm going to ignore all these other settings and go straight to submission type. And instead of all the normal Canvas submissions, if it's a third-party tool, external tool is my option. And when I click external tool as a submission type, to find the external tool I want, I click find. And here's where you can find Google, or you can find Kaltura, or you can find Turnitin. I can't really demo Turnitin because I don't have a Turnitin account. What I can tell you though, Turnitin is fantastic in that you can have the assignment criteria set up here through Turnitin. Once you make it a Turnitin assignment, you don't need any instructions for a Turnitin assignment. Keep the instructions blank. You come in here and make it a Turnitin assignment, and when you save it, that's when you're able to set the Turnitin settings and assignment instructions and everything. So if you build a Turnitin assignment, it's kind of nice because once you save it and do the settings from Turnitin, the speed grader, when you go to grade the assignment, you can see that, I just blanked on the name of it. The little report you get, what's it called? I just blanked. Originality, thank you. The word just totally dropped my mind. You get the originality report right when you're in the speed grader. It's kind of a cool thing. So that's one way to get to Turnitin. You can Turnitin assignments. Google Docs is the one I'm going to demo because I do have a Google account. When you go here to that external tool submission type, this is how you assign that document from your drive. So I click on Google Doc Cloud Assignment. And it has me, I haven't logged in this account yet, so I'll authorize. The first time you use it, it has you authorize. After that, you're usually pretty good. Yes, I want to use Google, it's okay. It'll take me to my drive. So I come here and I'll find a worksheet I want to assign I think I have lecture notes somewhere here. Let's say I want to have a worksheet of lecture notes. I think I have some. Maybe not. Do I really not have any in here? All right, we're going to totally just make up. Let's see. I'll have them do a reading log. We're going to pretend we're elementary right now. That's one of my elementary examples. I had lecture notes, I swear. I don't know where they went. I must have called them something weird. So I'm going to just add that Google Doc here. Submit. So select. I'm selecting that Google Doc. Now I just save it. So after I can set the date it's due and everything like that too, but I'm just showing you how to set it as Google. Once you set it as Google, you see the teacher view here. It shows up right on the screen. Here's a very elementary worksheet, but you get the concept. I made just a Google Doc that I wanted students to fill in. And so it automatically, because I built it as an assignment, it automatically makes a copy to every single student. So when they start typing on it, it's saving to their own drives. And then they'll get a little, where I see the edit, because I'm a teacher, they'll see a submit button. And they can submit when they're finished, and it submits a snapshot of what they did. Therefore, they can't just keep editing it after the assignment deadline, because Google Docs, that's typically what you can do. You can edit as much as you want, right? That's students figured out, well, I already submitted, but I can still keep typing on this document and keep updating it even though it's past the deadline. That stops them from doing that. They send a snapshot. They can always resubmit, but you'd have a record every time they edited it. So it gives a copy of like a master worksheet, a master document out to all your students at the same time, and they can all type on it. It's great for notes. One of the best ways I've ever seen notes used. But it's also great for just worksheets. Practice. Math teachers use this a lot, and they can type right on it, and then it automatically saves in their drive, and they can submit right from the screen. That's the Google assignment integration. Yes?
So if you assign this to a group of students, could they all work collaboratively on this assignment?
No, because it's still, the problem with the Google integration in this way is it's linked on an account by account basis. So if a student is logged in here, because it's not in that collaboration space, if a student's logged in here, they're still only accessing the Google through their own personal account. That's why. Yeah.
Can you explain that we're not taking questions really from the room? People are saying that they can't hear the questions, but you're reiterating and
Right. I'm just emphasizing, I want to say to the online people, I know it's really hard to hear or pay attention to a really long session online when you're not in the room for questions. I'm making sure when people ask questions that I'm re-emphasizing what they're talking about. So I've been including in the response, without having to exactly verbatim repeat questions, I'm at least trying to put the context of what they're saying, and I'm explaining the whole thing that they asked. So you're not really missing anything from the question. I'm putting all of their question components into my response. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Yes?
So technically, to access the Google assignment, they will need to go through Canvas, right? They cannot bypass and find the document in their drive.
All right, so he asked a really great question about how they submit through Google. Does it have to be in this way? Can it be from their own Google Drive? Maybe they completed an assignment on their own, and then they wanted to submit it. That's another version of this. This is the way you set up a Google assignment if you want them to all work on the same master worksheet that gives a copy to them. That's the Google Cloud Doc way to do this. If you just want to assign, you say, all right, write a research paper. If you want to submit from Google, you can. That's just a normal file upload type submission. So I'll show you again when I go back to edit settings. Let's say I want to switch this, not make it a Google Cloud assignment. I don't want a copy of this master worksheet to go out. I just want to say, all right, they can submit online through a file upload. If I enable file upload, they're automatically going to have Google as an option if they synced and signed into their Google account already. So Google will be an option when you have file upload. There's another tab, submit from Google Docs. They can submit from there. Great question. All right, let's talk about rubrics. I'm going to go down to save this again. This is a terrible assignment. We keep messing this one up. Here's that plus rubric. As soon as you build your assignment, there's the plus rubric button. And then after I show rubrics, I'll give us a time again for questions about that. I was the teacher before using Canvas that had a million rubrics already formatted, and I was not wanting to rebuild all my rubrics in Canvas. It was incredibly frustrating to me. But I will tell you right now, if those of you who were in that gradebook session, assessing rubrics is so much quicker inside of Canvas, and it gives really quick feedback, better feedback to your students. I like that in Canvas, you can completely customize rubrics. You're not stuck to rigid columns. Like all my rubrics before this were made in Rubistar, and they were like perfectly formatted columns. I liked that every criteria could have different levels of ratings. Doesn't have to, but I like that you had that ability. There's even a new feature now in Canvas where you can have rating scales, where you can have like ranges of ratings, like 10 to 12 points is this, 10 to 8 points is this, 6 to 8 points is this. Or you can just set definitive point values for different rating scales. You have complete flexibility now in how you build your rubrics. The other benefit of rubrics is that you never ever have to rebuild one you've already made. You build it once, it's there forever. You can reuse it as many times on as many future assignments as you want. That's why it's worth that time investment. I could build an oral presentation rubric for a project. Next oral presentation we have, find it, pull it in. Tweak it if I want, but you're never wasting time, and you always have it saved for future use and editable use. All right, so that's kind of the power of rubrics. It's worth building them, I promise you. I ended up doing one in here, and I went like within a week built all 20 in here because it was that useful to me to build rubrics inside of Canvas. Yes?
Could you say what you would recommend for departments wanting to use the same rubric, how you might use Commons, maybe?
Sure, yeah, I'll get into that. We'll talk about construction, then I'll talk about application of that. That's a good thing to make sure we bring up. I'll make a note of that too to make sure we talk about that. So department-wide rubrics, all right. All right, so with that being said, how do you build a rubric in here? It's very straightforward. As soon as you save an assignment, you get that plus button. Title the rubric. So if I title the rubric, this is for recording a speech, so I can say speech rubric. This little find a rubric, there's one sharing way to do rubrics by department. The admins of the department can share rubrics with the whole department. That's one way. Instructors don't have any control over that. That's a way, maybe you work for the College of Engineering and you have key engineering principles you always check for in your engineering products. You could have a whole department-wide rubric that everyone can just find by going to the Find a Rubric. That's built by your admins. Now, there's other ways to share. We'll get to that afterwards. But that's the Find a Rubric, any that have been created for you at a department or an institution level, or any you've already created in the past will be found there. So if I click Find a Rubric, there's none in this account, but if I go to my real account, I'll show you. I have tons of rubrics in here. Once you've been in Canvas a while, you'll have lots of rubrics. Here's an assignment. Let's go ahead and look at this rubric. All right, find a rubric. In my account where I already have stuff, I see all the rubrics I've already created here. So I could just pick one and have it. Or I can even see some from my whole account shared here. Like there's a writing rubric I could use from my account, a discussion board generic rubric that they shared with me. So you can have sharing done this way as well and find all your existing rubrics. Or you can just create one right here. I'm making one called speech presentation. Let's say, first criteria, this is how easy it is to add criteria. You just click where you want to type. That's it. It's that straightforward. My first criteria could be timing, 1 to 2 minutes in length. You can be as descriptive as you want. It'll auto fit to your contents. There is a character limit, but it's really high. So you probably don't want an essay here in a rubric, but you can have detailed criteria if you want. You can even add longer descriptions. Here's that ability if you want to add a range of points. You can enable a range of points if you choose to. I'm just going to do regular ratings though. I'm going to say, all right, if they meet time requirements, it defaults to 5. Nope, I want to give them maybe 6 points if they meet time requirements. I can completely customize and change this. I can say does not meet time requirements and they get 0 points. What if I want to add other criteria or rating scales there? What if I say, well, they may not meet the time requirements, but they could be close. I don't want to give them a 0 if they're close to the time requirements. So anytime I want to add a rating, I just click between where I want to add it, and it automatically will add a rating for me. So I can say, all right, let's call this close to time requirements. And maybe I'll give them 4 points. I'll change that 3 to a 4. And okay, I completely customize the ratings for each criteria. If I want to add another criteria, I click plus criteria. I can then add something else. I can say, all right, well, they have to have a strong thesis statement. I could add more detail if I want. I could be really detailed here, say thesis includes at least 3 arguments with supporting details, maybe for 10 points. Every criteria can be different point values, different levels of detail. It'll keep auto-adjusting to fit your contents, all right? So you keep adding criteria and ratings till you total your total point value here. This is a question we had earlier. What about extra credit? One way to add extra credit to rubric. Make your rubric worth more points than your total assignment value. So sometimes I'll put an extra row in my rubric that's like 5 points, and I'll have it as an extra credit. So technically my rubric could be out of 105 points, but my actual assignment in the gradebook's only out of 100. Anytime in the gradebook you get a score over your maximum score value, it's going to count as extra credit. Yes?
When you flip it, so if this is worth less, does it scale up to 100?
No, it does not scale up. It keeps different. So that's where you definitely want to just have it either equal or have the rubric worth more than the point values. That's a big consideration. So that's my favorite method of extra credit here. Add it to a rubric. That's number 1 what I do for extra credit. That was the question we had earlier today. Yes?
Just confirming that rubrics then hold to the point value and are not using a percentage.
Right, they're very specifically on the point values, correct. So you always want to match. What's nice is that when I go to save or create this rubric, does it not do that anymore? I might be shooting myself in the foot saying that. Usually it prompts you. I normally get like a pop-up that says point value is different than total maximum points. It didn't just happen. I hope that didn't update and go away. It worked last week, so I don't know. But usually you do get a prompt. I'm going to see if that's a new update or something. But yeah, usually you get a prompt like, just a warning, their point values are different. Yes?
Second from the bottom checkbox.
The grading, is that when it's going to do it? Probably, yeah, you're right. There you go, thank you. Haven't gotten there yet. Thank you, that's why. Yeah, it'll prompt you if the points don't match. You can leave it different. Maybe you're going to finish the rubric later. You don't really care right now. Or it'll prompt you to change it because the point values don't equal. And that brings us to these other options down here. I'm going to point out these options and then we'll answer questions about rubrics. So your total points will always total to the right. You want to make sure they match, or if you do extra credit, it can always total a little bit more. You can switch the type of rubric. I already showed you one way. You can make it a range of point values with that little checkbox. You can strip rating point values completely out if you choose this first option, I'll write freeform comments. That's for more like creative projects where you don't have common rating point scales. It's more open-ended. It gives you a box when you're grading to type what your response is and manually put a score into it. So that's if you just want to type your feedback without clicking boxes of feedback. And you just switch it back by clicking that checkbox again. You definitely, unless you're just using it for formative feedback, use this rubric for grading. That means when you're in the speed grader clicking it, it's actually going to score and total the points. You don't have to, though. If you just want to use it for feedback, you're not grading based off of it, you don't have to. And then you can also, if you're not using it to grade, you can even hide the score if you want. It doesn't have to show to students. So the other thing you'll see here is find outcome. We're not covering outcomes at all in training, but just know outcomes are a way to measure actual student learning towards objectives in your course. So like in video production, I had students will be able to appropriately use all different types of microphones. So I could add that like kind of learning goal to my rubric and assess it. That's what an outcome is in a course. You will have common outcomes you'll use at the institution here at UMN, but that's just not what we're covering in training right now. So just know that's what that is. It's how to tie a rubric to a learning goal. Pretty much is all it is. And then you click update rubric once you have it there. And now if you ever create a future assignment, you have this rubric available to reuse or edit. Questions about rubrics? I have a question that I get asked a lot, and then I'll answer your question. So a question I get asked a lot is, I'm doing a Google or Turnitin assignment, now it's not letting me add a rubric. You cannot, once you turn an assignment into something other than Canvas, so it's Google, Turnitin, any third-party tool, rubrics are no longer available. So if you do want to use a rubric from Canvas in the speed grader with those external tools, like you have that Google Doc you want them to fill out, and you want to use a rubric to grade it, the note for that is there's a workaround. Don't turn the assignment into a Google or Turnitin or anything yet. Create just the title, the points, the date, save it, add the rubric first, then go back and turn it into a Google, Turnitin, or other type of assignment. That's a question I always get. So I just want to make sure I tell you, once you turn an assignment into something that's not Canvas, Turnitin, Google, you lose the ability to add all those features like rubrics and peer reviews and all of that. So if you want to do any of those things, make sure you do that first, save it, then go back and add it as that third-party type of assignment. Just a workaround, because you're essentially, once you turn it into that assignment, Canvas has no control over it anymore. It's just working with the third party. So that's why that's a kind of an issue. It's important to know. Yes?
Can you modify the rubric after that?
You cannot. It's set. You will not even be able to access it until you're in the speed grader. So you cannot edit the rubric once you've done that.
It has to be ready to go.
Correct.
Turnitin has its own.
Right. If you're using Turnitin rubrics, yeah, you can definitely use it through that. It's just I know people still like the Canvas clicking rubric. That's where we get that question a lot. So, yeah. Yes?
Could you share how you would go about sharing a rubric with others?
Okay, yes, so that's the one thing we didn't get to. One way is for your admins to put a common rubric for your department. But what if you just want to share with a group of teachers you're working with? You'll want to build an assignment with a rubric. It could even just be blank, just have the rubric with it. And when you share that to the Commons, see the gear for that assignment has share to Commons, it'll share the rubric with it. And so you don't even have to keep the assignment. Once the rubric's in the course, they have access to that rubric. So the best way would be to create your assignment with the rubric and then share to Commons. That puts it in the Commons space. When you share to Commons, you call it what you want. So you come here, you authorize, and it'll ask you, who are you sharing it with, public or just UMN? What do you want to call it? What's the description? You could be very descriptive. This is just for these teachers. You can be very descriptive in what you're putting there, and then have it shared out with your the people who want to share it. That's this Commons area here. Anything you create doesn't just have to be an assignment with the rubric. Anything you create, if you go to the gear, share to Commons, you can share it with other teachers. So for rubrics, it's pretty much tied to assignments. Yes?
I would just make sure that people understand the difference between sharing at the U of M and sharing.
Public, yeah. That's why I even mentioned it, because I don't want, if you share publicly, there's the option, just public or UMN specific. Publicly means any Canvas user in the world can use it. So you probably don't want things public, unless you're really just trying to be a good Samaritan. It's nothing about UMN. You're just making like a really cool page you think others could benefit from. You could share that out public. But if it's something specific to your faculty or to your specific course content, I would share with just UMN specifically. That's just an option. You pick as soon as you click Share to Commons, there's an option for it. It shares publicly to every user in the world if you do share publicly. Yes?
If we have a administratively created and shared rubric, and let's say it's worth 30 points. I want to use it in my class, but my assignment's worth 50. Since it doesn't use percentages and doesn't scale, I will have to rework that rubric.
Yes.
To be equal to the value of my
So,
assignment.
correct. So once you import a rubric or find a rubric from somewhere else, you're going to want to yourself adjust the point values to make sure they equal to your total assignment value. That's essentially what was just asked. Yep. Great point to reiterate. All right, we're getting pretty deep here. Yeah, another question from there? Yes.
These aren't related to rubrics, but kind of.
Yeah, if we want to bring them up, this is the advanced session. We can definitely talk about what we need to.
Here's an interesting one. When you create a group Google Doc assignment, whose account does it go to? So you mentioned that the students would see.
If it's if it's a collaboration that's created, it's in your personal account. So whoever creates the collaboration gets that document. If it's done through Google, like assignments, then it's your own personal account and also copies to every single student account. But if you're doing a collaboration, it's just the owner who has that document in their account. Just the owner. Yes.
And then another question that you covered earlier is creating custom scales, custom grading scales in Canvas.
Oh, okay. So like when you're doing, in the context of the gradebook, is that what you're?
Just generally, that we can,
Yeah, you can completely customize what your grading scale is. They can do it at the whole institution level. They can do it at the admin level. They can even do it course by course in your gradebook. You can pick different grading schemes to use for your course. That is an option. Yes.
and then final online question for now. If you're using complete, incomplete grading, how does that calculate into the grade total? I.e., if all assignments are complete, incomplete, how do students get a grade?
It does give them a score. It's when you set your maximum points, it's either going to give them 0 if you click incomplete or full points if you click complete. So it's just a way to save yourself time grading. You can tell your students you're getting either full or no points. I did it a lot for like if they had to just submit something, I'd do complete or incomplete, 0 or 100%, or if I did add a 50 point, 0 or 50. It automatically assigns a numerical value based on complete or incomplete. Great question. All right, lots of stuff for assignments. Let's diverge a little bit to quizzes because there's a lot of stuff with quizzes and data in your course we can cover. I'm not going to spend time really going into building quiz questions because I feel like that's something we can figure out. I'm going to show you one quiz question I'm going to build just so you can see the media features because that's a little bit more advanced than the guides show. I like to just think, why just make basic multiple choice questions? I want enriching, relevant, authentic type questions for my students. So I taught video production. I don't want them to answer vocab questions all the time. I want them to identify a camera shot, show me the proper angle. Like I want them to actually authentically assess versus every assessment being a multiple choice, just text-based question. That's not useful for a video production class. So what can you do to add elements to your questions? I'll show you when we're constructing a quiz. Let me go to a class where I have, well, I'll just build one from here. Let's go to quizzes. I'm going to build a quiz really fast. So a quiz is a misleading word. A quiz in Canvas is any type of assessment. I think of it as the tool Canvas grades for me. Anything I can put in a quiz, I do. Sometimes I'll even put guided lecture notes in a quiz, worksheets in a quiz, because then it gives automatic feedback to my students. I don't have to sit there and grade it. I love quizzes. I put anything there. When students enter my class, I'll sometimes have like a 3-question, like get focused type assessment. When they leave my face-to-face session, if I have a 3-hour session, I might have an exit where they have to show me they learned something in here. Quizzes also is great because it stores and saves data of performance of students. So you have records and data to analyze. So I love the quiz tool. This is something I used frequently. Anything I could think to put in here, I did. It gives automatic feedback for me. Saves me a lot of time. I made study guides as quizzes. You have different options when you click your quiz type. You can have graded or practice quiz. Practice quiz will still give students all the feedback, but it doesn't go in the grade book. So I did a lot of study guides this way. I didn't have to spend time in class going over a study guide. This gave automatic study guide feedback. They got the question wrong. The feedback I gave them was, look at this PowerPoint, or here's a link to review it. I could give links and resources in their feedback. It self-directs them to study. Makes my life a whole lot easier. So you can use this in multiple ways. It's not just for, and the word quiz is misleading anyways. It can be a formal exam. It could be just a quick quiz, a check exit type of activity. Really anything you want to assess and track and give feedback for is good for this quiz tool. You also have the options for surveys, graded or ungraded. Graded survey, they're all the same question types. The only difference between graded and ungraded survey is there's obviously no right or wrong answers in a survey. So all graded means is they get an all or nothing grade. Do you want them to get points for doing it or not? I chose graded survey because I want my students to do the survey. So if they see they have to do it for a grade, they're going to take the survey. It doesn't score right or wrong, obviously, though, because it's a survey. So you have options here. You also have the ability to shuffle answers. That's nice because when I make my questions then, I don't really have to worry about the order I put multiple choice every time. Just make the first answer correct. It doesn't matter. It's going to shuffle it anyways. Makes my life a little easier. You can set a time limit if you want. Multiple attempts, let's talk a little bit about that. So do you want multiple attempts or not? If you don't select that, they just get one try. That's it. It's the final exam, whatever. If I select that, I have options. I can say allow multiple attempts, that's unlimited. If I select this checkbox below, allowed attempts, I can set that maybe they only have 2 attempts. I'll give them 2. You can set allowable attempts if you want. Then once you have more than one attempt, you can also determine if they keep the highest, latest, or average of the scores. You completely pick what's kept in the grade book. It's done automatically for you, the assessment of this. Another option you have is when students see feedback. Maybe they're taking their exam at different times. I don't want them seeing feedback. Deselect this box. Final exam, they don't need to see it right now. Keep it hidden. Another thing is you can decide when they can see their feedback. Only after their last attempt. So give them 2 attempts, but they can't see their feedback till they're done. Only once after each attempt. Now, a side note with this, our students are smart. If you let them see their feedback, there's no promising they don't screenshot that feedback or copy and save that feedback somewhere. So just be wary if you do allow them to see their feedback, there still could be some cheating and sharing and saving going on. You could also wait and schedule a time frame they get to see their feedback. So you can say, all right, I'm going to let them on Friday in class view their feedback for the first 30 minutes of class, and just give them a window of time to do that. So you have some limitations. Just know students are smart. They know how to screenshot and take photos of feedback. So we live in a digital age. It's not too hard to do that. If you want to completely hide it from students because of cheating, you can. You also have the ability to chunk content, showing 1 question at a time. That'll give them a nice next button. You can even limit so they can't go back. Maybe they have progressive questions. You don't want them to go back and change once they get to a question that kind of answers it. You can lock them from going back. Typically, we don't do that, but there's use cases where you might want to. Here's 2 more limits for security. You can require an access code. I know a lot of teachers do this. They don't want students who are at home or students doing other things accessing the quiz. So they could have the quiz open and just no student could start until they type the password. So I might want all my students to start at the same time, so I'll require a password, and then they all have to type it in before they can start. Filter IP addresses is where your tech people can set up labs, sets of computers for assessments, and kind of lock it down on those places. You also have, I think you have Respondus here, don't you? Yeah. So Respondus also works with Canvas too, so you can have the lockdown browser and all of that going on with your exams. Then you have that normal assign box we see everywhere. Those are all the details in a little bit more detail. Let's look at crafting just one type of question. I'm not going to go too deep into here. I want to point out every single question type. So if I click new question, here's all my question types. Every single one of those has a guide that tells you how to build it. So some of them are pretty easy. True, false, I feel like anyone can kind of make a true, false question. It's not too difficult. But when you get into like multiple drop downs and formula questions and things like that, they get a little more complicated. All you have to know is the name of the tool or the type of question. Go to your help guides. Let's say I want to look at formula question. Go to help. Search the Canvas guides. It's a good review of help too at the end today. Formula question. Here we go. The internet's going to load it. It's going to happen. There we go. How do I create a simple formula quiz question? How do I create a formula quiz question with a single variable? Look, I get very detailed. I can also go to just the guides for quizzes. Let's take out the search area here. I can go straight to Canvas guides and click quizzes. So I go to instructor guides, scroll to quizzes. There we go. And look at all these. How do I make a true false? How do I make a fill in the blank? How do I make multiple answers? How do I make multiple drop downs? See, there's a guide for everything. So this is where you can go if you really want to learn the ins and outs of building a question. Know that there's always help available for you. But let's look at some of the more advanced features of a question. I'm just going to keep multiple choice there. This little box at the beginning is a consideration for if you are using question banks. It's a way to organize your questions. Students do not see this, what you type here. A lot of teachers just keep question because they don't know about this box. The thing to know about quiz questions, you build it once, it's there forever. It goes to this bank of questions that's unfiled. If you have 200 questions, that bank's going to have 200 questions. This tag helps you sort those questions into banks. If every single question just keeps the default question tab, it's not helpful in any way. You want to target what this question's about. So I might say this is about camera shots and angles for my video production class, so I now know when I'm looking for this question later, oh, it's a camera shot and angle question. I can easily find it. That's a tag box. It's just a way to sort your questions. It's just for teachers only. All right, that's what that box is. No one ever knows what that box is. That's what it's for, to help you better organize your questions. You choose the question type. We already went through all of those a little bit earlier. And your point value, you can always change this later. Type your question here. Look what you have for a question. All of those tools. I can put a video, a YouTube video in my question if I want to. Watch this video and then answer the main idea. I can add links. I can add tons of stuff to my quiz questions. Let me just say, which camera angle is a low angle? All right. Now I can type text responses here. It defaults to just let you type text. I'm really kind of asking for like a picture though here, or a video, or some kind of media. So I want to point out, when you're adding your choices, there's a nifty little pencil icon to the right of each choice. That is how you open up more options than just text. When I click that little pencil, I now have, even for answer choices, a full rich content editor. I can add a recording. Maybe I want to audio explain, video explain. I can read questions and answer choices to students. I can add YouTube content. I can add Kaltura content. Whatever I want. Pictures. Let me add pictures here. Let's see if I can add a picture of, there's a way to search for pictures, that little embed image icon. We haven't talked about that yet. Never enough time to talk about everything. Right here is this little embed image icon. It's a way to add pictures, or I could just go to my computer and add pictures too. I like Flickr. It's already integrated, so I can search for a picture. Let's type low angle. And I can find, here's a low angle shot, and use that if I want to. You can also change the size or dimensions. I like to keep all my pictures and quizzes the same size. I'm just going to pick a size and keep it the same. Update. I added something other than text. How I did that again, let me click done. Instead of typing text, clicked the pencil icon. That opened up all those media tools for me. It doesn't have to be a picture. I could have added a video, I could have added audio recordings, whatever I wanted to add there. Just know it's possible. This is something that no one ever knows is a possibility here. You don't have to just have text answers. So you put your choices. I'm just going to put one more choice here. Find a picture of a high angle. That way they have a correct and incorrect answer. There we go. All right, I like that one better. I'm going to make the same size just so when I have the quiz, I don't have all these random sized images, making them all the same. Done. Now I have two choices. There we go. So they at least have a multiple choice question with two choices. I can keep adding answer choices or deleting. So I'm going to delete these two that are defaulted here. There's a little trash can. Or I can always add another answer choice with the plus button. I can add as many multiple choice answers as I want. You also have these little feedback boxes. That's how, if you want to, when you're giving feedback, to give like correct and incorrect answer feedback. Great job, you got this right. Or, sorry, that's incorrect. Here's a resource for how to learn about this topic. Then you just want to make sure you always, besides checking the answer that's right, defaults to the first one. This little arrow says which answer is correct. So it's the first one that's right, and then I click Update Question. I just wanted you to see a frame of reference of all the details of when you set up questions. You don't have to be that detailed. It's a lot faster if you just do true, false, multiple choice, quick text answers. But there's a lot of features people don't even know about in quiz questions. That's what I really wanted to point out. There's way more options than that. Just know you come here, plus question, or I can go to Find Questions and then find questions I've already created and pull them in as well. Admins can share question banks with you. You can copy question banks from course to course. Quizzes can be shared to the Commons and back here. There's lots of ways to get question banks into Canvas. You don't just have to create your questions every time. All right, questions just about questions, because then we're going into the data of quizzes. So questions just about questions. Yes?
You don't have to delete the extra ones if you don't use all four choices, do you? I mean, Canvas will only use the first two you created.
It'll show blank for the extra two questions. So he had a great question about if you don't delete those other additional options, they will show as blank options on the quiz question. So you do want to delete any you're not using. Great question. Yes. Anything else online or anything? We're good?
When you're saying admins, it might be useful to point out that what we've called them in the past is category support.
Okay.
So those are generally staff or instructional designers or academic technologists who have access to a college or department's entire sub-account in
Perfect.
Canvas.
So those category support people are the ones that can have the ability to add those rubrics or question banks, things like that, to go out to all the people in that department.
And if you don't know who yours is, there's a list on the Canvas Transition website.
All right, so the Canvas Transition website also has a list of those people if you need to find out who yours is. All right. Let's look at the back end of quizzes. When I create a quiz, why am I creating a quiz? What is there for me? This is the fun part. I love this. All right. What are all those tools you have as a quiz? Let me clear out some of this stuff. I have way too much open here. I'm going to go to a class where I already have a quiz. So once you assign a quiz, you build it, you save it, you publish it, you assign it. I'm going to go to a quiz that's already been assigned. All right, when you're a teacher and you click on a quiz that's already been created, what's there now for you? You get on the right, as soon as I click on the quiz, I get this area where quiz statistics and moderate are located. Really, really useful. This is probably the most useful piece of data in your course. I get the question, I've already had this question today too. What if I have, actually the person that asked the question just left, so I'll get back to that in a minute so they hear the answer. We'll start with quiz statistics. So quiz statistics is where you get the data for the quiz. Once students start taking it, you can see those statistics for that quiz. And you can get it as a spreadsheet or see the visual view here in Canvas. If you'd rather deal with a spreadsheet of data, you can get the student analysis, student by student, or the item analysis, item by item. All right, you can get those two spreadsheets at the top. You can filter by section. If you want to see data section by section, you can do that, or whole class. You get a grade distribution. And then you get that item breakdown on the screen. So you see the discrimination index, you see the percentage correct, you see who answered which incorrect questions and correct questions and how many people out of the percentage. That's helpful if you're trying to see which answer choices they're getting confused by. You can definitely get this breakdown here, or if you want a more data-based view, you do those spreadsheet views. So you get this visual item analysis. You also get the spreadsheet analysis. So that's the quiz statistics, what pops up when you get access to there, once you have a quiz assigned. Right below that is probably the most useful link here. The question came up, what do I do to accommodate students? What if a student gets extra time or extra attempts on an assessment? What do I do? It's this moderate quiz link. This is where I go once I have assigned an assessment if I just have a few students who get extra time or extra attempts. Moderate quiz. You'll have a list of all your students, and any student you want to adjust those settings for, you just go to the pencil icon next to their name, and it allows you to add extra attempts or extra time here. Now, what if I have several students? A lot of us do, that's the reality. So I can also select multiple students and do it all at once. So much easier than doing it one by one. So let's say these 4 students get those accommodations. I can scroll down to the bottom because I selected more than one, and look, change extensions for so many students. Instead of just doing it now one at a time, I can do it for multiple students at a time. I can even do whole class. Maybe I really messed up this quiz. I want everyone right now to get an extra attempt. I just click everyone here. And now I can go down and change and add an extra attempt for everyone. All right? So this is where I go, not only for accommodations, but for like that example, if I messed up and need to reassign an attempt, or if I maybe have a student who their computer shuts down in the middle of their quiz, I can come here and open up another attempt for them. All right, so moderate quiz is really useful. Here's my favorite part of a quiz. The gear icon, there's more stuff here. Favorite part. When I get to quiz results, I can click on a student. The only reason I see an exclamation point is telling me I have an essay question to grade. Why did I assign an essay question? Now I have to grade it. So annoying. I'm going to pick a student though, and I can see student by student their results. And I even get this log, this view log, and it gives me question by question, how much time they spent on each question. So I can get very granular with what data I'm looking at for a quiz. I can even view it as a table and see a progression of how they progress through the quiz. I can see if they've navigated away. I know like Lockdown Browser helps with that. You can lock down what they do and don't do. But this is great if you just need to see big picture. Oh my gosh, they've spent no time reading these questions. I wonder why they failed. Well, they spent 2 seconds per question. They obviously just clicked answers and moved on. It gives you that piece of data. That is the view log. You get there when you click on that gear icon. You can get to individual student results, and that's where that log is located. You can also message students who here, message students who haven't taken it or haven't scored a lower score. You can quickly message them from this space too. Lots of things. If I really messed up this quiz and want them to stop taking it, lock this quiz now. Or if I just am closing out the window, lock this quiz now. Between periods, class periods or sessions, or maybe there's a break in your class, lock the quiz now. They have to stop taking it immediately. So you can unlock and lock as you need to as well. Lots of quiz data features here. That segues us into one other like really big topic I want to talk about, and then we'll take some questions about quizzes, then we'll segue to the data other places in Canvas. And that's kind of how we'll wrap up the advanced session. Yes?
Just show how to get to the log again.
Yep.
With student and then where?
Yeah, you go to the gear and student quiz results, and then you just click on a student. So when I click their name, it's going to be the view log option at the top. Once you click on a student's name, it gives you that view log. If I needed to grade a question, question 28 is my essay question, I can also click here and go straight to grade it if I want to. You don't have to have essay questions, just know if you do assign an essay question, obviously you have to grade that. Canvas, I wish they could grade essay questions for me. You can easily get to grade that though as well. Other questions about just assessment and data and assessments?
He had one from before, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
He was, yeah.
Or about the, okay. Well, mine is quick.
Okay, go for it.
A Likert style.
Likert style, yeah.
I was looking at an ungraded survey and then I was like, oh, I just wanted to pre-populate the Likert answers.
Yeah.
Does it do that?
It doesn't do that exactly, but there's a whole guide in there. I don't think it's a guide. You might need to search. When you go to the community, go home and then search and type that. There's a whole post about it, of how to create that in Canvas. And with the new quiz tool that's coming out soon, there's a type of question for that specifically. So it'll be resolved anyways, but there is a workaround in the community. If you go home, it opens up your search if you go home. So go to that space. Yeah. All right, so we got really advanced with quizzes. Last topic, data and settings in a course. And then we'll take the last hour open time. If you want to work on something yourself, I'll walk around, I'll answer questions, I'll demo what you want. But this is the stuff that we really normally don't have time in a training to show. Really, really useful to show. What data is in a course besides just quizzes? Well, just going home, right on the right-hand side is your course analytics. Just going home, you can see data. Go to course analytics on the right. I can see graphs of how participative my course is, and I can even toggle to get more granular. At the top right, I can switch to a table view and see item by item what I want to see. So what's this? Activity by date. I can see how active my class is month by month, day by day. Submissions. This would be alarming as a teacher. Here in submissions, these are all missing assignments. Percentage of missing versus late versus on time. It's a training account. This would not be a real class. I would be a terrible teacher if this was a real class. But at least gives you that alarming, I would know to pay attention to this if I saw that. Then you get a whole grade distribution box and whisker plot for your grades in your course. And you can hover over all these items and it gives you the micro data there. So you can tell which assignment it's for, all of that. Now you can even get more granular with students. I'm gonna go back to home. Back to that breadcrumb trail. So that's home view course analytics. What if I want to see student information and reports? I go to people, because that's where all my students are, and I click on a student's name. Anytime you see a student's name, click it. You can get data. People, I'm going to click on a student. Look what pops up. I get this little course card, kind of quick access information. I can go to their grade view and see what the student sees for their grades. I can go to analytics and see all those charts and graphs for this specific student. Where do they fit in the grade distribution? How active are they being? Let's go there really fast. I want to show you some cool tools here. You get the same first graph. This is one I love. How communicative are they being? If a student complains to an advisor, my teacher's not communicating with me. Well, here's a nice record. Or the teacher is concerned the student's not replying. You can manage teacher versus student interactions and replies. Kind of a cool thing here. You can see their specific submissions and their grade distribution through that analytics. So that's one thing you can see by clicking on a student's name. You can also see when you click on a student's name. No, yeah, that's a special feature. Ignore it. You see how I didn't mention it? You don't get this magical button here. You can't become your students like an admin can. I'm sorry. You do get this quick look at their percentage, their last graded items, and then you get this auto-populated activity look. It shows you, compared to the rest of the class, how participative and active is this student. It's kind of just a quick glimpse. Oh, this student has 1 star. They're not doing what they need to do. It just kind of gives you a quick alert if you need to pay attention to this student. Now, I can click on their name again and get data and reports. If I click on their name again, it's going to take me straight to their profile. What's on their profile page? Any kind of information they put there, or this is always the slowest page to load no matter what training I do. There's lots of good stuff here. On the right-hand side are all the specific reports for this student. So again, you can get to their grades and analytics. Interactions shows how participative they're being. One of my favorites is access report. I can see whenever they're logged into the browser, if they've clicked on all these different items, how many times they viewed it, if they participated, what their last date and timestamp is. Kind of a nice thing to see what they've accessed so far in your course. Take it with a grain of salt. If they're using the app, it doesn't really record this. There's other use cases where they may have clicked on something, not really read it. I mean, it's just a way to quickly glimpse, are they being active in this course or not? Are they accessing my content or not? Just know there's lots of data inside of a course. Home, course analytics, or people clicking on students' names get you to their individual analytics. People don't even know that stuff's there. That's why I make a point to show it. The last place I'm taking us is settings. I'm pointing out the things we haven't talked about yet. I am not, again, going through everything here, but I do want to point out you have the ability to look at those granular details with course details, your sections, you have all those different links. Navigation helps you streamline what's here. Don't forget about that. Really, though, I want to point us to the right-hand side and just say, number 1, don't forget student view in settings. Number 2, there's this magic validate links. If you're getting if you're getting content from Moodle or you have old content, there's a way for this to scan your whole course and see if you have any inactive links for students, and it lets you go fix them. Really useful if you have a lot of stuff in your course, especially when you're copying stuff over. It's the perfect time to do that, right? Go to settings. No one ever notices that button. It's so useful. Validate links. It scans your whole course. Now, the last thing I'm showing you in this space, importing and exporting course content. That is how you copy content from course to course. If you want to move maybe a quiz from this class to another class where you teach a similar topic, you can use that import course content and copy it from course to course. You can copy your whole course. You're going from semester 1 to semester 2. You can copy the whole course, or you can select specific things to copy. You have both options. Just know if you want to copy things from course to course, it's the import and the export buttons. The difference, exporting course content gives you like a file package. And the only options for export are your whole course or your quizzes. Import pulls in content from other courses, and you can literally choose anything in your course to copy. Pretty easy. I always choose import. I'll show you what it looks like. You go in the course you want the stuff moved to, click import, and you say I want to copy maybe from a Canvas course. I can find the course I want to copy from. Try that one. And then I can pick all or select specific. So if I pick all content, I'm done. I click import, whole class comes over. That's how easy it is semester to semester. That easy. I'm going to point. I'm pointing it. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. The second option, select specific. That's if I want to copy certain things. I then click import, and it gives me this little box, last steps, just to select the content. Then I can click that, see if it'll still let me. I can click that, and then I go through my whole course. Look at all the stuff I can pick from. I can pick question banks, I can pick quizzes, I can pick rubrics. Let's say I want to copy these rubrics to my other course. I can pick whatever I want here. When I click select, done, it copies. That's it. It's that fast to copy stuff. So you can pick some or all, and here's the magic checkbox. If you're copying from semester to semester, so this semester you're setting all your deadlines for this semester. Next semester you'll have different deadlines. This allows you to bulk adjust all dates and deadlines. You can either remove all the dates and start fresh, or you can shift dates, like everything that was on a Monday is now due on a Tuesday, and so on. This is a magic button that lets you kind of shift or substitute dates for things in bulk right up front when you're copying content. You can always do it later, a million things there. We've covered all of the main topics. Don't forget help. I even made a slide. Please don't forget help. That's the most important thing. And then I also am going to include, I'm not going to go through these with you, but I do have, for those of you who want to start designing some neat things for your course, I put some of my favorite design resources in here. And then, yeah, we have now the next 50 minutes if you want to stay and ask questions, have some work time, and just get advice on things. We can take questions online, and I'll answer anything you have.